Hello to all my fellow sleep biohackers out there. I have a call to action for you. If you are enjoying this podcast, if you feel that you are growing, you're more knowledgeable, you're feeling empowered about your sleep, that is the purpose. So please take the time to like and review the podcast, share it amongst your friends and family. Please follow me. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram or Facebook, I am there as well. My handle on Instagram and TikTok is AskTheSleepMD. And you can also go to my website, AskTheSleepMD.com, for more information about each of these episodes. We will be sharing with you cited articles that you can actually refer to and read yourself if you like, and lots of juicy tidbits about how to sleep better. Thank you.
If you would like to work directly with Dr. Kole to maximize your sleep quality with a comprehensive sleep coaching program, or if you're concerned that you have sleep apnea, or simply just want a second opinion consultation, she's now available to see patients in New Jersey, New York, California, and Georgia, with more states coming soon. Please visit oak.care/sleep for a complete list of telemedicine services with transparent pricing. You deserve rapid access to quality sleep care with a physician you can trust to have your back every step of the way on your journey to better sleep.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alison Kole, sleep medicine specialist and bona fide chronic insomniac. Welcome to the Sleep is My Waking Passion podcast. Remember, knowledge is empowerment, and if applied correctly, it can help you biohack your way to a better night of sleep, just like I did. Welcome to the Sleep is My Waking Passion podcast. This is your host, Dr. Alison Kole. And to kick off season 2, episode 1, I have with me a very special guest. My special guest, how old are you now?
8.
I have a very special 8-year-old who's accompanying me. She let me know that she is, quote, very good at this, and she's going to help mommy make this successful. So, encore for Miss Lily Studer. Hooray! I'm clapping. So Lily and I were talking, and she really wanted to help me escalate the podcast. She's like, I know a bunch of stuff about how to allow people to sleep better. And I was like, oh, really? Well, I'm going to task you. With finding me the top 10 things that you think would work to help a person sleep. And I was simply blown away by these. And so Lily is but one example of how kids often say the smartest things. So without further ado, these are Lily Studer's top 10 recommendations for getting a better sleep. Okay, drum roll. All right, number 1, what's your first recommendation?
A blanket.
Okay, a blanket. So this is actually kind of a fun topic because Lily has her preferred blanket. Her sister, who's 6, has a different preferred blanket. And the bottom line is that we're each very unique. What I wanted to share with you is a little bit of data. You may have heard of these things called weighted blankets, and they come in different poundages. There's light, there's medium, there's heavy. And it seems a bit counterintuitive, but there's actually been some research on how weighted blankets influence sleep. And I wanted to share some of that with you. So the idea behind weighted blankets, where did that even come from? Well, what we know is that we have on our skin these low threshold mechanoreceptors, which sounds really fancy, but basically our skin has nerve endings. And these nerves are sensitive to a variety of stimuli. So one of those stimuli may be temperature, so we could feel hot versus cold. Itching would be another sensation. Pain would be another sensation. And also we can sense pressure and vibration. And so the hairy part of our skin, or our hairy skin, has these fibers that we call C-tactile fibers. And there is this hypothesis, it's called the effective touch hypothesis. And this proposes that because of these fibers, we actually sense deep pressure as pleasant. So deep pressure means things like a hug or cuddling or even getting a massage. There's even been some data looking at periodic limb movements. There was a case study, which means that someone just reported trying a weighted blanket on a young female patient who happened to have what we call periodic limb movement disorder, where your legs move a lot at night. And there was a demonstrable improvement in that person's quality of life. More robust data tends to be in the chronic pain category. There actually was a randomized controlled trial done on 94 adult patients. And what they did is they used a heavier blanket, a 15-pound blanket, versus a 5-pound blanket. And they did this overnight for a week. And what they were able to demonstrate is that particularly in patients who tended to have chronic pain and also were highly anxious, there were significantly greater reductions in pain perception in those patients who used the heavier weighted blanket. They've also looked at using weighted blankets in the elderly. And they actually published a study that was done back in 2022. It was done in Basel, where they essentially had 110 adult elderly patients, 68. So there were a number of people that fell out of the trial. But 68 of these adults actually completed an intervention that lasted 28 days. So they had these folks using a weighted blanket for close to a month. And what they were able to demonstrate is that these elderly patients actually noted a reduced use in their medications for sleep. They seemed to have improved cognition, so they were mentally processing things well. They had less reported mental stress, and they actually had reduced sleep onset latency, so they fell asleep sooner. That's pretty cool. And lastly, they looked at folks who, they've even used this for patients who have been undergoing chemotherapy, where they will use a weighted blanket in folks during their chemotherapy sessions. And these are all outpatients going to a center to receive their chemotherapy. And the patients mentioned that they felt considerably less anxious. Less robust is a retrospective analysis using weighted blankets, particularly in patients who have ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or some sort of autism spectrum disorder. And those patients actually were found to do quite well. In addition, there was a positive impact noted in their ability to fall asleep. They were able to sleep more consistently throughout the entire night, so they had what we call decreased wake after sleep onset. They felt more relaxed during the day, and it seemed to work, including children and adults. So that's what I wanted to share with you. There is a new product out there called Quiet Mind. The jury's still out, but it is a weighted pillow. So it's an alternative to the weighted blanket. I'd be very excited to see what kind of data comes out of that new product that's out there. All right, Lily, my darling, what is number 2? What is your second recommendation for good sleep?
Pillows.
Okay, what's special about your particular pillow? Can you share with everyone?
Because I like how it's not too hard, so like it doesn't feel, it's not as comfortable. But my pillow is special because when I put my head on it, it doesn't sink in the pillow.
Okay, so you like a firmer pillow.
Yes.
Okay, so everybody has their own unique style and what they like. Some people like a soft, squishy, flat pillow. That would be my husband. If you're me and you prefer to sleep on your side, I am a big fan of ergonomic pillows. So those pillows that have some neck support and some shoulder support so that you're more evenly distributing, keeping your head in a more optimal position, particularly if you are a side sleeper like me. For some of my CPAP users, meaning that folks that are being treated for obstructive sleep apnea, they may use a machine called CPAP machine, which stands for continuous positive airway pressure. And those patients may actually prefer a CPAP pillow, which has, it's sort of like neck support, but there actually be a cutout so that when you sleep on your side, you're not compressing the mask against your face. I've had some success using CPAP pillows in those patients. So the bottom line is, find a pillow that you find comfortable. Some people like gel type pillows with a little bit more support, and other people do not. Figure out what's your jam and go for it. Get that pillow that you like. All right, darling, what's next? What's your next recommendation?
Sleep mask if you're a grown-up and stuffy if you're a kid.
Okay, so the sleep mask will obviously keep things dark. And we know that darkness is very good for sleep. Our bodies want to sleep when it's dark. So what is it about a stuffy that you find so relaxing for you? Because maybe adults can have a stuffy too, no?
Yes.
Yeah? Is it like mommy who has Hello Kitties in her bed?
Yes.
So what is it that you like so much about a stuffy?
That I get to cuddle with it. It's cute and it's so soft.
So you like the texture and how it feels?
Yes.
Okay, well, if you're a texture type person, you may really still, like something like that in your bed. That might actually influence what type of pillow, what type of sheets you pick, what type of comforter you may decide to use. The sleep mask actually is a great recommendation from Lily because there are times when the situation may call for it to be dark and you're going to need to sleep. Classic example, something that I encountered during COVID was that I treated COVID patients in the intensive care unit. And I would do these overnight shifts that I was not used to because it's been many moons since I've been a resident or fellow where I've had to be up all night consistently and working in the hospital. And the sleep mask was pretty much the only way, because even though I had room darkening shades, the room simply was not dark enough for me. It was a way for me to try and mimic what would happen at night. Did it work very well? Honestly, it did not for me, but I do know some folks that are really committed to shift work because that's what they've been doing for their career. And sleep masks have been instrumental in making sure they get that sense of darkness that allows them to go to sleep when most people are awake during the day. All right, girlfriend, what's next?
Focus on sleeping. Focus on your breathing and not on all the noises you hear.
Okay, so when you're getting ready to go to sleep, when you're giving this advice, what is it about your breathing versus the noises? Like, do you sometimes pay too much attention to that other stuff and it makes it hard to sleep, or?
Yes. How I know that is because one time it was night, I was going to bed, I was sleeping, and I heard this noise. It was like a test of a fire alarm or something, and I couldn't sleep because of it.
Okay. And what happened after that?
I fell right back to sleep.
Okay. Were you thinking about things that weren't the noise? You stopped paying attention to the noise?
Yes.
I bet you were pretty tired too, probably.
Yep.
All right. So what's so sage about this advice is the bottom line is that this is really using a technique that's akin to meditation. What you're trying to do is you're trying to actually take some deep breaths, focus on your breathing, maybe focus on the sensations of what you're feeling, and less to every single little noise. This might be particularly helpful if you tend to be someone who describes yourself as, the slightest pin drop wakes you up. If there's a way for you to feel more comfortable at night, if that little noise makes you anxious, if you're concerned about safety, this might be a great time to start to incorporate a bedtime routine where you can ensure your safety as much as possible. Maybe it means that you set an alarm before you go to sleep. Maybe it means that you go around, you double check all the locks, you make sure you have plenty of lights around the outside, motion detector lights. Maybe you have some cameras if that makes you feel more comfortable. But you create an environment where every little noise is not that anxiety provoking for you to the best of your ability. So I'd encourage you to do that. And sometimes that means just meditating, focusing on your breathing, focusing on the sensations of where you are in your bed to help to calm some of that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response that we sometimes accrue from the stresses of the day. Next recommendation, please.
Listen to calm, relaxing music before bed.
Well, I am a huge fan of this, and there are many ways to do this. It could just be your favorite album. It could be music that you're getting from, an app used for meditation. The Calm app is very popular. There are some music apps like Apple Music, for example. I'm a member of that. And you could even just type in meditation music and it may come up with some stuff. YouTube often has a great selection of some relaxing music that you can play. Some relaxing classical music may be the ticket for some folks, but just something that you find calms you down as opposed to makes you want to lift heavy weights at the gym. That's what I would suggest. All right, what's next?
Do not play around before bed.
So what do you mean by that, Lil? Do not play around before bed.
Well, don't go on a playground if you're a kid. Don't go lift weights or do exercising. Don't walk around.
Right before bed is what you're talking about?
Yeah.
All right. So this is a great recommendation. And this is something that I pretty much use for most of my patients. Sometimes the only time one prefers to work out is sort of later or after work. That might be some people's jam. I'm a big believer in trying to get the workout done in the morning just because it sort of sets the tone for the day. And then you've also sort of gotten it out of the way. But that may not be a practical solution for some folks. So what I would encourage you to do is to focus on getting your sweat on, getting that exercise, which I always encourage to be a combination of some cardio and resistance training. You want to do that at least 3 hours before bed. Why am I suggesting that? Well, what you're doing with exercise is you're raising your core body temperature. One of our body's physiologic responses to getting ready to go to bed is that our body temperature dips. You can't do that when you've just exercised. So I'm not opposed to folks exercising later on in the day, particularly if that works for you. Just keep in mind that it may take you a bit of time to fall asleep. So trying to get home right away and then hop into bed and, get frustrated that you're not able to fall asleep, it's just not a great use of your time. Just be mindful of the fact that your body needs that core body temperature to cool down. So please get out there, get exercise, use the rest of those ATP molecules that's basically your energy building blocks. Use all that energy up so that you're tired to engage with sleep, but just try the best you can to get that exercise at least 3 hours before bed. That is a great suggestion. All right, what's next? Number 7.
Read a book.
Why would you recommend that? What do you like about reading books?
Well, what I like about reading books is my little sister Sophie. She's 6. She loves reading. So I love to read her a book or let mommy or daddy read her a book and I listen to.
So reading a book, there's a couple of reasons why this is great. First off, reading a book entails having a light behind you. You're not looking directly into a screen to flip pages. So it's typically the ambient light is typically a bit darker. The other thing that's nice about reading a book, particularly if you're sharing it with your kids, is that type of communication is really healthy for kids' development. So it's one of those recommendations that we know improves cognition, improves that relationship with your children, and I highly encourage to become part of your bedtime routine. Many of my patients find that even if they read for a bit while in bed, in general, we ask you to read outside of bed, but for some people who are not necessarily struggling with their sleep, their habit may be to read a bit before bed, then they close the book and they're able to engage with sleep. So I encourage reading. I love it. You're focused on something that's a little outside of yourself, which may take you a little bit out of your head, but Also, too, you're not staring at a screen to do the reading and you're not engaging actively in social media. So I'm a big believer in reading books. Not only will you become smarter, but you're more likely to sleep well if you read a good old-fashioned book versus reading a bunch of stuff online. All right, girlfriend, we've got 2 more. What's next?
You mean 3 more?
Oh, you're right. 3 more. Shame on me. Number 8.
Sit down and relax before bed.
Okay, so are you talking about having a bedtime routine before bed, where before you just hop into bed and try to go to sleep, you've done some of the relaxation out of bed?
Yeah.
See, this is what we tell all of our patients, adult or kiddos. You need to have a routine before you just hop back into bed. That routine can look different for different people. Sometimes it's having a warm bath, which is really nice because you heat the body up, then you get out, you get cool, you vasodilate, that helps lower the core body temperature, which helps you engage with sleep. For some people, it could be reading that book that we just talked about. Some people, it could be doing an evening meditation before they hop into bed, or maybe it's just sitting and zoning out, watching a silly show. Whatever it is, create a routine that you think will work for you. And you want to do that routine preferably out of bed and have it not be a very stimulating routine. We often cuddle with the kids watching a kid show before bed, before we take them up. Then we brush their teeth. There may or may not be a bath, depending on the day. We typically do that a little bit earlier in the evening. And then we get up, we read a book, and we get prepped for bed. So it's worked out really well for the kiddos. And I think it's worked out really well because the kiddos are actually adhering to a bedtime routine. Adults, we're a bit more autonomous. We don't have anybody telling us to have that bedtime routine. So think about it in your own life. How can you sleep better? What routine would work for you? Okay, now we're officially on 2 more. Your 9th recommendation, what would it be?
9, a kiss from daddy or mommy.
Aww, bedtime kiss. There's actually data that supports that having a partner in your life, someone who cares about you, actually lowers your stress level and improves your sleep quality. So, they've looked at this both in romantic partners as well as folks that are just BFFs. And one of the things they did was, this is kind of a landmark study. This was back in 2007 or 2006, this was published. What they did was they basically told a bunch of women, listen, we're going to give you an electric shock. And they allowed these women to hold the hands of their romantic partner, hold the hands of a stranger, and to see, how they would respond. And the stress response was much lower when they could hold the hand of their partner. Similarly, if they actually changed it up and they weren't necessarily holding the hand of a romantic partner, but holding the hand of a significant other, a best friend, what have you, they also got a very good response in which they felt less stress despite a stressful stimuli. So there's something to being attached to another human being. And they've looked at couples that generally keep the same wake time and bedtime. They have what they call sleep concordance. And those couples tended, the women especially tended to report a higher marital satisfaction if their bed partner went to bed at the same time as them and woke up at the same time as them. Now, I'm not saying that if you have a partner who happens to be, a late, night owl, if you will, and you happen to be someone who likes to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in the morning, that you couldn't have a successful relationship. That is not what I'm saying. And people change, and sometimes people actually do better because their bedtime partner's not in the room with them. And especially among some of my sleep apnea patients, where it's better that they sleep separately than together because of some noises that the partner might make. But that being said, essentially that connection, that sense of security that comes from a secure relationship, that's actually beneficial for our sleep. So there's even data like this in kids. So it's part of that bedtime routine that's so beneficial is that time spent with mommy or daddy, cuddling, making them feel loved. It's sort of universal we're human beings, and I would argue that the vast majority of us really do enjoy that partnership aspect of sleep. So it can be better for your sleep. All right, last but not least, the grand finale. What is number 10?
Sleep and think about all the people who love you.
Of course, I'm biased. That is my most favorite. But I think it gets back to when you're going to sleep, what sort of positive thoughts are you having? Sort of an incorporation of meditation, if you will. Reflection and saying to yourself, I'm not going to focus on all the negative things that could have happened today. I'm mad at my boss because they said something to me. I'm mad at my coworker because they didn't deliver on this promise. Whatever it may be, I'm mad at the guy at the stop sign who, gave me the finger because he was mad I wasn't hitting the gas quick enough. Whatever it may be, try to let go of some of that negativity and focus on things outside of yourself. So instead of thinking about, I felt this way today and these are the bad things that happened to me, start to think of what's the one little good thing that happened to you. Just one. Maybe it's that mommy and daddy cuddled with you at night. Maybe it's your neighbor gave you homemade jam. That's happened to me before. My neighbor makes great jam. Maybe it's that you just feel grateful that you have a blessed life, that you've been able to accomplish the things you've been able to. Try to hold on to some positivity as you're getting ready for bed. I think thinking of all the folks in your life who love you so much is a nice way to end it as well. Whatever's your jam, but try to end on a positive note and perhaps think positive things about how tomorrow's going to go. And if you think positively, that energy is likely to carry through to the next day. You're probably more likely to have a better day the following day. All right, my lovely Lily, those were some amazing tips for getting some good night of rest. Thank you so much for being in Mommy's life. You're what I think about when I go to sleep at night, and I'm eternally grateful that you're in my life. You really are the best. Thank you for participating. There's no doubt in my mind you're going to make my podcast better, and I appreciate your support. Okay, kiddo?
Okay.
All right. Love you.
Love you.
Everyone, please have a great rest of your day or night whenever you're listening to this. Feel free to like and share the podcast if you will. I do have a website that's going to be up and running soon. If you'd like to check it out, it will have all the latest episodes. It's going to have transcripts of the episodes. It's also going to have links to all of the studies that I talk about in my episodes. If you're interested in a sleep consultation with me, even if it's just a second opinion and a one-time visit, I am here to help you. I really believe in a comprehensive sleep assessment. And even if it's just for some sleep coaching versus actually getting to grassroots of what's going on with your sleep and excluding sleep disorders, I'm happy to be there to help you. I am currently seeing patients in the New Jersey, New York, California, and Georgia areas. If you're interested in checking out what I offer, you can go to oak.care/sleep for further details. This podcast would not be possible without the support of Mr. Joey Salvia, who is my producer, and Adrian Pederath, my creative director. Disclaimer. The statements made on this podcast have not been evaluated by the U.S. Food or Drug Administration. They are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. The information provided by this podcast should not be used as individual medical advice. While I am a practicing sleep provider, I am not your sleep provider. You should always consult with your personal healthcare provider for individual recommendations and treatment.